My name's Heather and I was diagnosed with acinic cell of the parotid gland. In about 2004, I think it was, I noticed a small lump just under here, much the same as when your glands come up when you have a cold. And in fact, I think that's what I was told by the doctor, that it was just a swollen gland, more than once. And then it wasn't until I moved and saw a different doctor and said I had this lump, and they said, oh, okay, we'll get it checked out. So after some scans and biopsy, it was diagnosed as acinic cell, and I had surgery to remove it. Just the lump, it was just part of the gland was removed. And then some years later, probably about 6 years later maybe, I noticed some little bumps sort of in the cheek and I think under here as well, from what I remember, and kind of went through the process again. It still took about almost 18 months for them to confirm that it was a recurrence of acinic cell. I don't think it helped because I changed. I was seeing one doctor and then was referred to somebody else, so then they had to send on results and sort of start the process again almost, so it took quite a long time to actually diagnose. So for the second lot of treatment I had, the whole parotid gland was removed. It was a little bit more, the surgery was a bit more extensive than the first time. And also going in through scar tissue, it was a bit more tricky for the surgeon to see what was what. So the whole gland was removed and some neck muscle and some lymph nodes, all of which, well, the lymph nodes and the muscle turned out not to be affected, so that was good, it hadn't spread anywhere. And then I had a course of radiotherapy for 6 weeks, which was quite a challenge in many ways. So the radiotherapy unfortunately fell in the 6 weeks holidays that my children were off school for, and my husband was very busy at work, so I had to find ways of, I was commuting into London from Essex, and fortunately I had lots of friends and family members who were able to help with looking after the children, and in fact they had a great holiday because they had day trips to London. I'd palm them off with a friend, go and get my treatment and then join them for the rest of the day. But the actual treatment itself, so for about 2 weeks it was fine. Maybe got a little bit of redness and itchiness in my skin, and then after that the sort of side effects started kicking in. Like, first of all, my taste went a bit odd. I eventually pretty much lost my taste, and lots of ulcers, and I had oral thrush, and yeah, quite difficult side effects. But I had a lovely oncologist and nurse who were looking after me, and I just kept going and got through it. A bit depressing at times when you can't eat, when it's very painful, and obviously lots of visible signs with the burning and everything. And then the symptoms last for a few weeks after the end of the treatment as well, but gradually everything more or less got back to normal. Wet foods are definitely easier to eat, and also, I don't know, because it changed. Like, one day I could eat something and the next day I couldn't tolerate it for whatever reason. So I was encouraged to eat sort of full fat foods to try and get in as many calories as possible. I was also given some nutritional powders which I would put into, say, something like hot chocolate, and that would be a meal for me because that's all I could eat at the time. So yeah, softer foods, wet foods. For a while I even struggled to drink water because it was just, I don't know, it just felt really thick and horrible in my mouth, but sparkling water is a lot easier to drink for some reason. So that was a bit of a breakthrough to realise that that was much more tolerable than anything else to drink. one of the main things that helped me with the treatment, particularly the radiotherapy, was I kind of almost looked forward to it starting, because as soon as it started, I could tick off the days until it finished. So once it had started, I knew already that it was coming to an end, even though I still had 6 weeks to get through. But my brain works in that I get quite a bit of satisfaction from ticking things off. So counting down those days made you realise it was only for a short period of time and it wasn't going to go on forever. However difficult it got, you knew it was only for a finite length of time and that you'd start to recover as soon, hopefully as soon as possible after the treatment finished. But also a top tip I would give during treatment is to, as hard as it gets, is to keep eating as much as you can, which probably won't be a lot, but if you can carry on actually, eating using your mouth, it's better than having a tube, and your recovery will be a lot better, and you'll be able to keep your energy up and keep as well as possible during treatment. I think for getting back to normal afterwards, it was mostly getting back to, because I used to do quite a lot of sport. I used to do quite a lot of triathlons. So it was getting back to doing something like that was what made me feel normal again, knowing that I had the energy to go out and run and swim and everything. But I also had, following my surgery, I had a conduction block in a nerve somewhere, wherever it was, in my neck somewhere, which affected my trapezius. So I had limited use of this shoulder and arm, but that was fairly short-lived. And I had some physio for it. But I think just being able to get back into the swimming pool and know that my body could still do the things that it used to do, and that took a little bit longer, using my arm properly and also using my neck properly. And where I do quite a lot of exercise, I do notice the difference in my neck. Even now, a tiny bit, but it's minute, the difference, compared to what it was immediately afterwards. So yeah, just getting fitness back again and feeling like me again.